This is the tutorial for the morecalculators.com Advanced Triple Net Lease Calculator. At morecalculators.com, we have over 20 different free calculators to help you with buying a car, buying a home, renting a home, estimating your taxes, making a budget, calculating your income, and investing in real estate. We invite you to try one or a few calculators now at our homepage at morecalculators.com. To get to the Advanced Triple Net Lease Calculator, just scroll down the page here until you see Advanced Triple Net Lease Calculator. Go ahead and click on it, and you'll see here is the Advanced Triple Net Lease Calculator. Now, there are several entry blanks on this one. This is more complicated than some of our other calculators, so we'll just go through these together. The first blank here is rent. Now, our blanks, all of the first two blanks, rent and operating expenses, are per square foot. So it's rent per square foot, operating expenses per square foot. So we'll go ahead and type in $20 per square foot for the rent. Scoot over here to operating expenses, we'll call it 6. The next is how many square feet is the space. We'll say it's 13,500 square feet. And the term of the lease, how many years? And we'll say it's a 7-year lease. Okay. Now, the next entry blanks here are called annual adjustments. What this means is every year the rent will either go up or down, probably up a certain percentage. Okay, so the rent and the expenses are calculated separately. You can enter some sort of adjustment here based on what you and the landlord agree upon. So if you use these blanks, we can say a 5% adjustment and say a 3% year adjustment for expenses. And now it's going to calculate that adjustment every year. Now, we also have entry blanks down here underneath of those. And what these are variable adjustments per year. Okay? So what this means is that you can enter some percentage of an adjustment for both the lease and the operating expenses. And then the calculator will calculate that accordingly. If you use these adjustments, then you need to leave the ones above, which are these guys, blank. Otherwise, the computer is going to assume you want to use these annual adjustment ones and not the more detailed ones down here. Now, since there are 60 boxes here, and you might end up using all of them, there's a lot of things to remember. What you can do is you can save your work. Okay? Now, to save your work, what you would do, you just be entering things into these boxes, and whenever you would like to save your work, you need to go up here and hit the submit button. Once you've received the calculation, regardless of whether it's correct or incorrect, that's regardless, you can then go over here to favorites, click on add to favorites, and say okay. That saves the address bar into your favorites, and the address bar will contain all of your entries. Okay, we do not save your work on our server. It's merely put into the address bar, and the address bar is stored on your machine, and then if you recall it and then send it back to our server, you'll see whatever results you'll see. So that's how that works. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and just use these base adjustments first. Now remember, we have a rent at $20, operating expenses at $6 per square foot, square feet 13,500, term of lease 7 years, annual adjustments for the lease of 5%, annual expenses 3%. I'm going to now click submit, and you will see the first year lease is going to be $351,000. Now the other thing that this thing does is it makes a chart for you. it makes a chart every year because it's taking into account the yearly adjustments. Okay, so it tells you the year, monthly rent, monthly expenses, annual rent, annual expenses, and the total. Then for every year, it makes a new line about that information. This is based on your entries, whatever you put in there. And then it makes a total down here at the bottom. Total there, adding everything up. And then it makes another chart. Total rent for lease term, operating expenses for lease term, grand total for lease term. And then it puts these figures in there for you. Adds up everything for the whole lease term. Okay? So that's how it works when you just put in one certain rate for the adjustments. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to delete out of these two boxes because we want to use the detailed adjustments. Okay? So, for the second year, we're going to say the lease adjusts 10%. And for the second year, we'll say it adjusts 20%. And the third year, we'll say 30%. Now, of course, those are probably high numbers. I hope so. Otherwise, that's really going to stink. For operating expenses, we're going to say 1% a year. And then 10%. And then 100%. Okay? Now, remember how I told you to save your work? Go up here, click Submit. Okay? Now, my work is in the address bar. Okay? And I can go over here, click on Favorites, Add Favorites, Save. Then I go down here, and you'll see there's my entries, 10, 20, and 30% for the, and then 1, 10, and 100. Now, remember, we had entered it was a 7-year lease. We don't have anything for the last 3 years. So what that means is there should be no adjustments. Let's go see. So we'll go down to the bottom of the page to our chart. And you'll see here, there's our chart. Actually, I'll go over here to our annual charts. Okay, so there's our annual rent. And you'll see they add $27,000 to there, and so on and so forth. The expenses, they barely creep up because remember we did 1, but the next one is 10%. So between year 2 and 3, which is the second and third entry, you'll see a larger increase than between the first two. And then remember we did 100%, so that means between year 3 and 4, we're going to have a huge increase. Okay? And then there's our totals. Now, for the remainder, you'll see here because we didn't put in any adjustments, there are no adjustments. It assumes a 0% adjustment. Okay? So that is how the advanced triple net lease calculator works. Okay? If you have any questions for us at morecalculators.com, simply go to our homepage at morecalculators.com and then visit the morecalculators.com Help Center. There you'll be able to ask questions or leave commentary for the site administrators. Thank you very much and have a great day.